This episode is sponsored by Esper Strategies. Esper Strategies is a leader in ERP marketing, specializing in helping business grow through tailored strategies and data-driven solutions. Led by Haley Korlenko, one of the top marketeers in the ERP industry. They start with an assessment, identify quick wins, and guide you toward generating qualified leads and measurable results. To learn more, visit esperstrategies.com or connect with Haley Korlenko on LinkedIn. Now, let's get started with the episode. Hi, Tej, and welcome to ERP Talks podcast.
Good morning, Khaled. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure having you, and you are the first ERP customer. We can say that to be in the show. Most of the people that come to our show are ERP owners, company owners, or vendors, or technical people. But a customer, it's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be great to offer my perspective from a customer standpoint.
Yeah, sure. I'm 100% sure that we will have a different point of view, and we need to listen from customers. We need to know what guys are you facing, what is the challenges, what is how you guys think when you take the decision to have an ERP. So let's start with our first typical question, and it's about your journey since you graduated till you are now the CISO in IPS Assembly.
Yeah, sure. So I can kind of combine this with an introduction as well as go into the kind of the journey. So again, my name is Tej Sutariya. I'm based in the Detroit, Michigan area. I studied finance at Michigan State University and graduated in 2022, so quite recently actually. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible companies across different industries, from underwriting at PNC Bank to global supply management at Tesla and operations at Eaton Corporation. So quite a different variety of industries. And today I'm a part of IPS Assembly, an electronics contract manufacturer in Livonia, Michigan, where I manage sales strategy and operations and also serve as our CISO, or Chief Information Security Officer. Outside of work, I would say I'm a pretty multifaceted person. Music is a huge passion of mine, so I'm a DJ and producer on the side under the name of DJ Jet. So
Wow.
I specialize in blending Indian tunes with global beats, and I love creating mashups that really connect my roots and cultures. On top of that, I'm also interested in the latest tech, like trends in AI and how they can reshape industries. I also love gaming too. That's a little kind of side point there. But
Wow.
I'm always looking for new challenges, whether it's in business, technology, or the creative space, because that's what really keeps life interesting, right? So that's just a little bit about my background. So my journey to these roles at IPS Assembly has been a strong combination of curiosity, adaptability, and a strong sense of responsibility. So IPS is actually a family-owned business. So I've always worn multiple hats, which gave me natural exposure to the different facets of the operation long before I joined full time, even in elementary school, middle school, high school, going into college. So after graduating in finance, I found myself gravitating toward the more strategic aspect of sales, where I could directly influence the growth of our accounts in those customer relationships. At the same time, with IPS Assembly expanding its footprint into the defense contracting space, cybersecurity became a very critical focus. So as we worked through our first contracts with the U.S. Department of Defense, I realized the importance of meeting very stringent cybersecurity standards like NIST, and more recently, a lot of prime contractors and contractors that work with the U.S. government will know CMMC 2.0. So this is just a new standard, and it wasn't just about compliance at this point. It was more about building trust with the U.S. government. So that's what led me to take on this role of CISO to ensure our systems and processes were robust, both for our internal operations and for our clients. So it's been a quite a rewarding but very new challenge for me, balancing these two roles, as it means I'm contributing to both our top and bottom line. And with IPS Assembly growing every year, I'm really excited to see where this journey takes us.
Sounds good. So you have a background in finance. What makes you like shift? What makes you what motivates you to do this job? Specifically, the computers and the cybersecurity and all of that stuff.
Yeah, good question, Khaled. So actually, as you know, I graduated with a bachelor's in finance, not even remotely in the IT or technology space. That was more of a passion of mine since childhood. Even since when I was like 4 years old, I was probably able to type faster than the average 20-year-old, just because that was like a hobby of mine, right? And stepping into that space when I was so young, transitioning into college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, well, I already know so much about technology. Why would I want to get a formal education on it, right? I wanted to do banking at the time when I didn't know too much about what I wanted to do. I was inspired by my family, my father, my uncle. A lot of my family are business owners. And
Okay.
I've always known that I don't know if I want to work for someone for the rest of my life. I want to do something that I can drive the change and I can be an important part of the process. So that's the kind of reason that I landed here at IPS. Even 10 years after its founding, I found myself here because there was a business need. We needed to see further growth. We were already doing great, but I wanted to see ourselves expand into further market segments, such as with the US government.
Perfect. So, for those who are unfamiliar, could you introduce us more to IPS Assembly? What you guys are doing? What is the core services that you provide?
Yeah, yeah. So IPS Assembly is an electronics contract manufacturer, again, based in Livonia, Michigan. We specialize in printed circuit board assemblies and wire harnesses, box builds, and more. So primarily printed circuit board assemblies are our core business, and these are kind of the ancillary things that go into these PCB assemblies. We also serve as a reliable and experienced bareboard partner or bareboard supplier with extensive relationships with many bareboard manufacturers, both domestically and abroad, who focus only on the fabrication of those bare boards. What sets us apart is our commitment to being a true partner to our clients. So whether that is our customers in the automotive sector, industrial, lighting, or defense contracting, to name a few, we really pride ourselves in delivering quick turn prototypes, repairs, and reworks that larger manufacturers often cannot give the level of detail and precision that we focus on. While we're a small business here, we are often thinking big. We're always being on the customer side, thinking for the customer, working for the customer, but we're always ready to scale when needed. So we have a 42,000 square foot facility here, climate controlled, ESD flooring. So that's the to protect against electromagnetic discharge from any boards or any assemblies, ensuring that our bodily contact to those boards are not going to damage it. It's going to ground us. So we're really focused on that assembly process there in the PCB assembly space. With over 30 years of experience across our management team in electronics contract manufacturing, you can honestly aggregate that to 100 because we have 30, 40, 30 years of experience. We've built a reputation for both precision and reliability. So clients can know that they can count on us for everything from rapid prototyping to full-scale production that often maybe other companies may not be able to do like us. Another key differentiator for us is our adaptability. So we don't just follow industry trends, we anticipate them, we plan ahead. For example, which is kind of our core topic here, ERP, we integrate advanced ERP systems to streamline our operations, enhance our traceability. So this ensures our clients always know where their projects stand, how we're doing, if there's any quality issues, we're easily able to relay that directly to the customer without even having to step foot on the shop floor because that's all relayed through this ERP. And this is really, it's this focus on quality, speed, and customer centricity that truly defines us and differentiates us.
Okay, so you guys only work with government or with many companies?
Correct. Yeah. Defense contracting is actually a new space for us. We have been in the space for about 6 months now, so it's very new to us.
Okay.
I would say that the majority of our clients are actually in the automotive industry. Given that we're so close to Detroit, we're literally a 25-minute drive from the heart of Detroit, where Big Auto is. We have a lot of companies that are directly into tier ones, or we're doing tier two and tier three automotive suppliers and partners in that industry. So I would say a majority are actually automotive.
Okay, so many people at the end of the day they need a high quality thing, but also the price is important.
Mhm.
And China, maybe Vietnam or any other countries can make those boards in a lower price. Is this a challenge for your company now?
Yeah, no, so that's a really valid point, right? As I mentioned, we have partners that can do the fabrication abroad as well as domestically. The biggest differentiator for a domestic bareboard manufacturer versus a manufacturer abroad or an assembly house abroad is should you make an order. Let's say you made an order for 100 pieces of whatever assembly, whether it be the bareboard or there's actually the assembly. So all the pins and connectors are put on, there's some soldering processes done, and it's really customized. Well, let's say you get 100 shipped to you, it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It arrives to you and you realize, well, shoot, three of the boards don't even work.
Okay.
So now at this point, you are put in a very tough situation where you are meeting a deadline. Let's say you're in automotive, you need to meet the production timeline for this vehicle. Well, if you only have 97 boards that are good for 100 vehicles, what are those 3 vehicles going to do? They're just going to sit there. Now, the solution to having a domestic partner is we can literally hand deliver your boards to your facility. And if you don't get those 100 boards, you can come knocking at our door at any time of any day. You can give us a call at any time. You don't have a time zone problem. You don't have any problem. So I think the biggest benefit of that is that partnership being very close, that company being very close, right? You want your supplier to be close so you can easily reach them when you're in a very urgent time of need. So that's really one thing that kind of merits that higher pricing that you might see often. But we always pride ourselves in the lowest pricing domestically because we have a very experienced purchasing team. We have millions of parts in stock at our facility ready to go that you might not even be able to find. There are a lot of obsolete parts that companies are still wanting to use because maybe they don't want to change the design. They don't want to go with that 5 times more expensive resistor or capacitor. So they stick to the old thing because they know that's what's tried and tested and true. They have enough of it. They know that we have enough of it, of those components. So they don't want to change anything. So that's kind of the benefit of having a domestic experienced supplier or manufacturer.
Wow. So if I want to work in this industry, definitely I will need someone who I can reach out to. They can deliver me my needs in a very quick time because
Exactly.
as you mentioned, if I'm working with a company in Mexico, in China, in any other place, it takes time. It takes
Takes a
time,
lot.
and 3 weeks to come. Then maybe when we test it, they have an issue. But to reach out to you, you are in the area. This is really important. So my next question for you: each industry have their unique challenges. What are some of the unique challenges in electronic manufacturing industry, in your
Yeah, good
opinion?
question. And I think this is the answer to this kind of applies to a lot of industries. And I think, as you know, there's a common trend across all industries right now: the global economy as well as macro and microeconomic factors within the U.S. One major challenge is supply chain volatility, which we have seen. Whether it's a global chip shortage that we saw in 2020 during COVID, or a disruption in logistics, manufacturers are constantly adapting. So at IPS, we've addressed this by strengthening our supplier relationships. So we have quarterly, semi-annual, and annual meetings with our suppliers and partners. And we've invested into tools that give us better visibility and granularity into our inventory and utilization, because that's our bread and butter, right? Having the right components to be populated onto a board and ensure that can go out in time. So we've adopted lean manufacturing principles and integrated tools like real-time inventory tracking, all linked through ERP to mitigate risks and improve efficiency. So another challenge for us is maintaining quality while scaling. So for us, quality is not negotiable. That's why we've implemented rigorous quality management systems and integrated ERP solutions that allow us to track every component in real time. So as you know, Khaled, you're an electrical engineer. You can have your O2, 001 resistors. They are like smaller than a fingernail.
Yeah, yeah.
How in the world can we track those without an ERP? You can't use pen and paper anymore. You can't use just a simple Excel spreadsheet. You need some automation. You need some checks and balances done automatically that maybe a human error situation could have caused actually. So these things are really important for us. So by combining technology with a very hands-on approach, we've been able to maintain our very high standards, very personable approach, but still keep our clients happy.
Perfect. Sounds good. So you are in a niche market, and I believe it's very, very, very hard to compete in this market because, as I told you, there is China. There
Yep.
is a lot of companies here and there that will compete you. So it's very, very hard to compete in this market. So can you share with us a successful story
Yeah.
that IPS have?
Yes. One good example that comes to mind is when I joined IPS full time last year in 2023. So a little over a year ago, when we actually overhauled our entire inventory management system through our ERP. So this is our new ERP, which is CTech ERP.
Okay.
Before this, tracking parts across multiple projects was a major challenge, especially for our ITAR or automotive customers, where they might ask for a traceability sheet. Hey, could you give us the date codes and lot codes of every resistor, capacitor, transistor that you have used for our assemblies? Well, unless you have some sort of automation for that, you're in big trouble. I don't know how you're gonna
Okay.
I don't know how you're gonna do that. So after implementing our ERP overhaul in 2023, we saw a 20% reduction in lead times and a significant improvement in inventory accuracy. So this helped us secure repeat contracts with major clients. by implementing a customized solution within our ERP, really honing in on PCB assembly and electronics manufacturing like we do, we improved not only our inventory accuracy, but we also improved our ability to forecast demand. Now, it's a very as needed basis that customers are ordering. They're not going to order consistently always 100 pieces a month or 500 a month. Some customers might, but often we're seeing they might run into our facility one day and say, hey, we need one more of these. We need 50 more of these. We don't know how many to have in stock, but often that's what happens. So we always need to be kind of prepared for that, have that inventory in stock and available. So that ERP really helped us reduce these lead times significantly for our clients just by identifying what we have in stock, and helped us win this more repeat business. It's kind of one of those instances where the right technology at the right time paired with a great team can truly make a big impact and difference.
So ERP is important for your company now.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us the story of implementing ERP? You mentioned CTech. So can you
Yes.
tell us from the customer perspective? Can you tell us the story and like how it happened, how you pick your vendor, how you started evaluating the offers? What was your needs before hiring them? Can you share with us the story?
Yeah. So the story, our ERP journey really started with a clear need for better data visibility and order management during production. Prior to me joining, we had an ERP system, which was great, but we needed something that was kind of in this current day and age that was implementing, the newest trends, AI, BI, whatever else it may be, which CTech is working toward. So as we scaled, managing operations manually or with these very fragmented tools, Excel spreadsheets saved into a shared drive and all this stuff just wasn't cutting it. So implementing ERP allowed us to bring literally everything, including inventory, production scheduling, quality control, accounting, even all under one roof. So of course, this implementation was not without its challenges. It was a very very hard project to say the least. I was directly involved in working with our ERP partner to ensure the system was tailored to our needs. So we knew that our ERP partner already had worked with some electronics manufacturing customers, not directly kind of what we do, but very similar. They still had the same needs for their inventory. They still had their same needs for visibility through order management and production and scheduling. So this gave us some confidence prior to even going with CTech to give it a try. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and this hands-on approach really made a difference in how quickly we could see the results. And in terms of customizability, CTech actually has a lot of customization abilities through the generation of what they call custom documents. So based off of data in an order, it can generate maybe your quality control document or your traveler, whatever else. So customizing the system, which I handled mostly myself to meet the unique needs of a company like ours, took a lot of time, and I'm still working on it today. But once we got the initial system phase in, which took a few months, the impact was immediate because it streamlined our workflows, improved our early and on-time delivery rates, and it also gave us actionable insights that we didn't have before, such as, hey, you in the past 3 months, on average, you've used X quantity of this component. You should probably order more. We can very easily see that through the utilization. Now we have a better idea of what we need to purchase ahead of time, knowing that we have this customer that comes back every 3 months for the past 10 years. We know that we can order those components for them, and have them prepared.
Yeah. So you guys chooses CTech because they have a kind of experience with the manufacturing industry, let's say that. So it was not hard to choose the partner, but let's say after they say, "Hey guys, we will work together." What was like the implementation story? Did you guys like sit down and a kind of meetings, discovery sessions? What happened? I want to know the story.
Yes. So we actually had, this sort of consulting period when we were transitioning into CTech. This was
Okay.
before we had, made the decision to move forward. They
You
were guiding us.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you guys before using ERP, you have been using like spreadsheets or something?
So when IPS first started in 2014, by the way, we did start now 10 years ago, so it's
Yeah.
quite wild to be a part of the ride now. But when we first started, we were literally using spreadsheets,
Okay.
Excel spreadsheets. So the creation of IPS Assembly started with the acquisition of two businesses, Clover Electronics in Atlanta and A3 Electronics in Troy, Michigan. So we acquired all of their assets, all of their employees, whoever else, wherever that was kind of. About a year or two after our founding, we went with an ERP system And it was great for us. It worked well, but coming into when I joined IPS, we needed something kind of something new that had the newest features of AI and technology. We wanted something cloud based that we didn't have to worry about storing here on a server. We wanted something secure that is vetted by other companies too. So that's why we chose CTech to at least evaluate. We heard some really good stuff from some of our partners. So we hopped on a call with them to start off before deciding, and they kind of gave us a roadmap of what steps we need to take in order to make an informed decision on transitioning to CTech. We did choose to go with their paid consulting route, so they would help us with the implementation to some extent. I was kind of the person driving everything, but they would give me guidance. Hey, do this first before doing this. Move your accounting before you move your whatever else. Move your inventory this way, and finally your trial balance. So they really helped me do things step by step during that period. So it was very segmented. I tried to phase in our inventory first, then I phased in our accounting first. Then we ran in parallel for about 6 months. We were running both ERPs. It took a little bit more time, but we were ensuring that it's fully accurate. We wanted to make sure all of our GLs, our general ledgers, were mapped and coded correctly. Because if one thing goes wrong at the end of the year, we were going to be in big trouble
Yeah.
figuring out how our chart of accounts is completely screwed up. So now we're looking back very confidently that we did make the right decision. We did work with our accounting team to ensure those GLs were moved correctly. We did, handle that whole migration. I had a whole migration process for our inventory where we literally were labeling our reels in our inventory, thousands upon thousands of parts, again, from scratch. We were literally pulling the reel, labeling, putting it back in, and putting it back into the bin and into the shelf. We were really migrating one piece at a time to ensure that we were doing a full kind of audit. It was a good opportunity for us to scrub through our full inventory, analyze shelf lives, and toss anything we don't need to. And CTech was a part of the way the whole time. So even now we are enrolled in their support plan, so I can call them any day, anytime, and I'm bothering them at least 3-4 times a day because I have so many questions, right? And I have critiques. From a customer perspective, I'm always giving feature addition suggestions, kind of ranting to them, kind of complaining sometimes because sometimes any ERP gets frustrating.
Yeah,
You get
yeah, yeah.
of doing it
Sure.
day and night, and they are always very receptive to that, which I really appreciate.
This episode is brought to you by Esper Strategies. With years of expertise in ERP marketing, Esper Strategies provides tailored solutions designed to help ERP businesses grow. From initial assessments to identify quick wins and creating strategies that deliver qualified leads, Esper Strategies is built for results. Learn more at esperstrategies.com or find Haley Korlenko on LinkedIn. Now, let's get back to the episode. Sounds good. So, my next question for you, I believe it's super important, in my opinion, because many people don't really know why ERP is an essential tool, why ERP is important. And I'm talking now with a customer, an ERP customer. So, as an ERP user now, why do you believe ERP is an essential tool for business like yours? And also, some people also say that, hey guys, we have QuickBooks.
Yeah,
QuickBooks is enough. Hey guys, we have spreadsheets. Spreadsheets is enough. And I don't want to be like a pushy and selling ERP, but sometimes I feel, guys, QuickBooks is not an ERP. So,
yeah,
yeah. So,
100%. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up QuickBooks, Khaled, because from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective, right? QuickBooks is top. It's the best tool for any business to track accounting for
sure.
bookkeeping. But for a manufacturing business, running on QuickBooks just by itself is like trying to give a good analogy here. It's like trying to run a marathon in flip flops. You're not going to get first place. You're going to struggle to even finish the race before they start wrapping up and taking away the decorations and everything. You're going to be the last person there because an ERP is built to handle the complexity of a manufacturing or in our operations. It tracks every part, every process, and every interaction in a way that maybe QuickBooks can't out of the box. However, that is not to say that QuickBooks isn't a useful tool, right, to be integrated. Many ERPs, including ours, can actually integrate with QuickBooks so that smaller businesses can transition gradually without losing their existing processes. So they can use, CTech's built-in accounting module or they can have it mapped directly to QuickBooks, and that maps to their CTech accounting, and that's kind of makes everything functional. Uh,
Yeah.
and they don't have to lose their existing processes. So for us, ERP isn't just about efficiency, it's about precision. When you're dealing with industries like automotive or the prime example now, defense, there's no margin for error. So ERP ensures that we meet compliance standards, avoid very costly mistakes, save plenty of time from doing a lot of manual entries, and also keep our clients happy.
Perfect, perfect. So, guys, this is a witness from a customer using ERP solution, and it's a solution. It's a solution.
Mhm.
It will solve issues. It will solve many issues. So, when evaluating ERP's impact now on IPS, what results or outcomes have been most meaningful in demonstrating its value to the company?
Yeah, and I would say before I even get into my thing, anybody that implements an ERP, you're not going to see the results in a day. You're not going to see
Yeah.
it in a month. You're going to be maybe a little bit slower for a month, right? Because you're still learning. I would say the biggest outcome has been improved decision making now that we've been using CTech for over a year. With real time data at our fingertips, we can very easily spot trends, identify bottlenecks, and act quickly. So if we have a short part that often we're missing, well, MRP, the material resource planning module on CTech, is going to catch that for us. Ensure our purchasing manager knows to order the respective quantities. So another meaningful result is a reduction in errors. So for example, our ERP's traceability features have nearly eliminated issues like misplacing parts or even duplicating work orders. So at this point, with our optimized inventory stockroom, which interacts with our ERP in such a seamless way, our ERP can tell our guys in inventory where exactly to even find the smallest component for a new build, even if it's tucked away in the wrong shelf where it's not even supposed to be. If you have different warehouses or kind of like locations set up, you can make sure that you can find the component, even if it's in a completely different warehouse. Or maybe it's mistakenly picked for the wrong job. You can even find that very easily. It'll say this component from this bin has been picked for this job. Now you know, okay, wasn't supposed to. I'm going to go and unpick it, move it to the right job. So, we always have customer tours. So our existing customers come in, we treat them to lunch, give them a full shop tour. And I always love taking them to our inventory because they themselves are so amazed. They're like, how are you tracking all these components so precisely? Because we always give a quantity in. So we receive some customer supplied components in addition to what we're supplying, because customers often are supplying what they have. And when we return those components, we're sending them a count, a little label that goes on their little reel or packet, and it shows them the exact quantity that they're getting back. Now, they didn't even ask for that. That's something that we're doing just out of courtesy, and it's also part of our QMS. So they get that regardless of the fact. And they're so happy about that. One of our clients was also amazed when we can provide real time updates on their build status, even down to the individual components being used, like I mentioned. So it's that level of transparency that really builds and strengthens these partnerships that we've had for so long. And these outcomes don't just save us time and money; they also build confidence with our clients, like I mentioned. When
Perfect.
they see how seamless our processes are, it reinforces their decision to work with us, and also maybe refer their friends, their partners, their colleagues to come to us as well.
I really like to hear that. I really like to hear that, and I believe we can say also good job to for CTech. They are doing a good job.
Yeah,
So this is a shout out for CTech.
yeah. Shout out to CTech for sure. I'm excited
Yeah,
how they build out the ERP more. I think there's still a lot of features that they should be adding that will make this ERP absolutely perfect. That I'll root for them even more than I do right now if they do.
yeah. So all the time we hear that or we know that ERP help people to make decisions, but now you said that and you are an ERP customer, so it helps you to make decisions, which is super important.
Mhm.
And it's overwhelming when you are working with all that stuff and you want to take decision, and now you have a tool, you have a solution that tells you, hey, you should buy this item, or you shouldn't buy this item.
Yeah,
Make sure that you have like this amount of items, be ready because you will be in a it will be high demand because you are in a season, for example, and
exactly.
many people will ask you for that. And this is the MRP. Thank you for the MRP to have these features, so helping you to take decisions. I believe this is the most important thing in the ERP.
100%. This demand planning, material planning is something. not just one person can do. Even if one person could do it, they're really going to struggle managing a bunch of spreadsheets. I'll tell you right now, we have over 11,000 unique part numbers in our
Oh my
inventory
God.
stock room. Now, how in the world are you going to be able to manage alternates, cross parts, parts that you might want to sub out and tell the customer, hey, this component with a potential different tolerance can be placed in place of this one because you don't really use that much of the current, so you can use a different resistor or capacitor. Now, this ERP can do that for us, identify the alternate, and we can pick that without having to even think about ordering, more of
Yeah.
that first part that might be 4 times more expensive, maybe. So we see that cost saving internally.
Perfect. Perfect. So we know that there's no solution is perfect. And this is maybe a good thing because when customers ask for things, now the vendor should improve themselves. So if you will ask CTech for a feature that you would love to see added to your ERP now, what it will be?
Yeah. So as mentioned, every day I'm giving them new ideas, and I think when CTech hears this podcast, they're going to agree that I might be the number one support person that calls support or email support because I want to help too. I want to see them grow, and I want to see IPS succeed more as a result of their implementation. One thing I would love to see is more integration with third party tools. So for example, maybe a plug and play feature for advanced analytics or AI driven forecasting would be a game changer. So CTech already does a great job at managing data, but enhancing its ability to provide predictive insights would take it to the next level. So CTech actually has some paid add-on plugins for BI or business intelligence insights that I haven't really evaluated yet, as we're still just past that year mark at this time. But imagine if the system could analyze past orders and predict when we'll need to reorder components even before there's a shortage. And that's a kind of feature that would take operations to the next level, right? There's less human thought that needs to go into that process. You can just make a quick decision based
Wow.
on what's generated. And our ERP can actually do this type of thing to some extent, but it actually requires some manual input for things, such as minimum order quantities. So for a specific resistor, you can say, hey, in the next 6 months, we know that we'll probably need like 500 more. Or whenever that quantity in stock dips below 500, trigger MRP, tell our purchasing manager to buy whatever more he needs. So if there's 450, he's going to buy 50 more that next day. We're purchasing every day. Our purchasing manager is doing purchasing twice a day, even sometimes. And this is kind of really working hand in hand with CTech, refreshing that MRP, seeing the demand, and making the order accordingly. So that really drives that automated reorder point trigger.
Okay. This is not a big deal. I believe they can do that. And as you mentioned, they are upgrading or improving themselves all the time. So I believe they can do that. It takes time and you can see now the AI. Every ERP now is trying to figure out how they embed the ERP in their
Yeah.
system now. And I hear a lot of stories of how the AI is coming to the ERP industry so fast. So I believe this is a good point. And as you mentioned, minimizing the manual or the human interfere is important to make the data more accurate and more better than the manual or the human interference.
Yes.
So this is a valid point. So moving to my next question, and it's about an advice for companies who are considering ERP. So your competitors, or any company in the manufacturing, what is the advice would you give them on selecting the right system or the right ERP solution?
Sure, sure. That's a good question. And even if the competitors out there are listening, I don't mind because in the end, you still have to do the implementation. I
Yeah.
can give all the advice I want to, but there still has to be someone that takes the initiative to move forward with that process. So what I will say to start off is that you will hear many experts say that on a base level, that all ERPs do the same thing. And it's true, right? All ERPs can move an order through a given process if it's designed that way, mapping your accounting and your GLs, etc. But it's a matter of how each ERP system is structured and what level of integration and ability the system has to integrate with maybe other systems in your organization, such as your machinery, your inventory, whatever else. And that's key. So my biggest piece of advice to anyone looking into ERP is to do your homework. Understand your company's needs even before you start evaluating systems and ERP systems. Find the weak points, find your pros and cons of what you're doing right now, and see what a potential ERP can do. So there's two scenarios you could be in. Either A, you have an ERP setup, but you're looking to switch to another. You're just evaluating, kind of shopping around. Or B, you don't have an ERP system at all. So at this point, you need to look for an ERP that aligns with your processes rather than forcing you to adopt to it. I think this is, or adapt to it. I think this is a really big point that I've talked about with a lot of people in my position of implementing ERPs. When you get to the point where you've considered or evaluated multiple ERP systems and all are requiring some level of change to your processes, well, that's really where you should take a step back and look at the big picture of implementation and evaluate what sort of time and cost savings will be achieved in the long run. So you've been doing something for the past 10 years, such as here at IPS. We were doing a fantastic job before, but when we're integrating CTech, we saw a lot of changes that we needed to make for our order management, our production scheduling, that our management team really, there was some hesitation naturally, right? They're used to doing something for the past 10 years. And before that, in their past lives for the past 30 years in a very particular way. You introduce something new and throw it in front of them and say, hey, we're doing this from tomorrow. Anybody's going to get scared, right? So that's kind of something that you always have to ensure is making sure that your team is on board. No matter how good the system is, its success depends on how well your team embraces it, right? So when it comes to implementation, you have to choose a partner who understands your industry, understands your management's kind of hesitance, and how that can be bridged, how that gap can be bridged. So because their expertise will make all the difference when it comes to customizing the system and even training your team and getting them on board. And lastly, what I'll say when it comes to ERP is that no one can tell you what's best for you. I don't care if you're the smartest ERP vendor in the world, you're the best consultant in the world. No one can tell you what's best for you because you know your processes at the core the best. You can reach out to a consultant or a vendor and get their advice, but you need to make that decision yourself. You have the big names like SAP, Oracle NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics, Epicor, Acumatica. These are often the names that you hear the most in manufacturing when it comes to ERP. But then you have the very specialized systems really catered toward manufacturing, such as the ERP that we transition to, which is CTech, or even for companies in our industry of electronics contract manufacturing, there's even industry-specific ERPs, such as Manex ERP. So there's a couple different routes you can take with that when you're doing that shopping.
Perfect. So do your homework
100%.
before you blame the vendor or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So ERP is not, you will not like start and drive. It's not like that. It's a project that we will work together to make it live, to make it happen, to make it
Yeah.
successful.
I like the way you said that. You need to make it drive, right? It's like a car that doesn't have any good wheels, no good rims. The steering wheel is a little bit messed up, but inside is a beast of an engine that can be optimized by giving it the right fuel, giving it the right octane of fuel, right? And ensuring that you have whatever mods you did to that engine or whatever else to ensure that it drives the way you want. You want it to sound loud, make it sound loud, right? Customize it the way you want, I think is a really good analogy there.
Yeah. So if you will give us an advice as an ERP vendors, because for sure before you have CTech, you listen from this and that and that and that.
Yeah.
So if you will give us also an advice, what it will be?
Yeah. So to all vendors, uh, nothing frustrates users more than feeling unheard, right? So ERP vendors should always prioritize open communication and very fast turnaround fixes for bug fixes or feature requests, right? My advice to vendors is simple: just listen to your users, right? They're your core, right? Too often features are added without considering whether they're useful in the day-to-day operation. And on the flip side, like we said, an ERP at its core is a simple kind of thing that to manage your orders, manage your accounting, manage your inventory, whatever else. Stop overcomplicating things, right? A great ERP balances power with simplicity. So it's really important not to lose sight of that. Amidst, like, I know there's a lot of new tech coming out nowadays. You don't want to get lost implementing 5 new things. Do things in a staged deployment. And another major piece of advice to vendors is to consider the needs and requests of your users. So if your users really feel that a feature is missing, they don't understand why it's missing, or worse, a feature is truly broken, that should be a call to action to address to the customer. Say, hey, this is why we don't have it. We're coming out with a better solution. Or, hey, we're going to patch this bug today. By tomorrow morning, you'll see that fix. I think these are really big things when being an ERP vendor.
And this is super important. Thank you for that. Sure, this
Yeah.
is super important to listen to your customers, what they really need, and don't overcomplicate things
Yeah.
because sometimes people hate change, and you give them a change, and it's complicated. So don't do that. I will thank you for letting me know that. And this is something that we all the time try to focus on, to listen to the customer, to make sure. Sometimes we say, hey guys, start simple, then start adding or configure your solution. Don't add too much customizations. And also SAP tell us that don't add too much customizations.
Right.
If you did that, sometimes you will find a lot of bugs. And if you did that with SAP and you think that Microsoft will fix it, if you did the same thing with Microsoft, you will have the same issue. If you did that with CTech, you will have the same issue.
With
Ne-
anything, yeah.
so never do too much customization. I really like, and listen to your customers. For sure, we need to listen to you guys, and we don't need to do anything that you didn't ask for.
Right.
If you didn't ask for, why I do it? And say, hey, let's see our new feature. I did. Who asked you for this feature?
We didn't ask for it, right?
So we should listen to you and do what you need, not what
Yes.
we see that you need.
Yes.
So this is good. So my last question for you, Tej, if you had a time machine, what is the advice would you give to your younger self?
I like the question. So to start, I appreciate this time on, Khaled. It's been a great time chatting with you about all these different topics and as well as IPS. I would say I'll tell myself, my younger self, to embrace the challenges and learn from them. It's easy to shy away from things that you don't truly understand, but that's where the growth happens. So as I mentioned, I studied finance. It's not even in the realm of manufacturing. Yet I was fortunate enough to experience work experiences at companies like Eaton Corporation and even Tesla, where I was working directly under Tesla. Honestly, over any of my finance experiences in banking and elsewhere, I learned the most in these different environments where I had to step outside my comfort zone. I didn't learn this in a classroom setting. Finance and underwriting and analysis like that, I've learned in class, in my accounting class, in my finance classes. Uh, Going onto the shop floor and identifying what is a bottleneck at this time is something that nothing at those companies that I've worked at have taught me or school has taught me. This is like using common sense in a way, right? Manufacturing is a lot about making snap decisions that will benefit the business and benefit the customer in the end. So that was a big thing. And also, don't underestimate the power of building relationships. So whether it's with your team, with your clients, or your vendors, it's important to leverage the advancements of technology to get connected with the relevant people in the industry. Now, a lot of people don't agree with me here. They say, LinkedIn's whatever. But no, get on LinkedIn, connect to the right people, send them a message, get on a call with them, do some networking. You can truly find some good value add from there. And that's what I try to do on a weekly basis. I try to connect with a few people on LinkedIn. If I find their work experience to be interesting and relevant to me, I might just send them a message. Or I found some colleagues from my experience at Tesla. I might send them a message too and catch up with them. Industry blogs. So another kind of side promotion here is electronicsmanufacturers.com. This is a industry blog called The Circuit that I founded under IPS Assembly. It's a very it's supposed to be actually for customers, for people looking for EMS vendors or EMS companies, in what big trends are occurring at the time, news updates, how to select the right vendor, how to ensure that you're, as example, finding the right alternate parts for submission to the vendor when you're doing a bomb upload or a quotation request, something like that, whatever else it may be. But at the end of the day, technology is important, but people drive success. And so in sum, to anyone listening, don't hesitate to step outside of your comfort zone and out of your expertise, because those experiences can really shape your career in unexpected but rewarding ways.
Awesome. Awesome, Tej. I really like your words. And to be honest, you are one of the most people that really build relationships, because you guys don't know the story. I met Tej in a trade show trying to selling him my stuff, and they had their C-Tech company. But after that, I sent him a LinkedIn request. He accepted it, and
Yep.
we just started like liking each other posts. I invited him to ERP Talks. He said, for sure, I want to come. So when he said building relationship, he meant it. He mean what he is saying. And he did that already. So building relationship is super important in those days where everyone try to, as you mentioned, sit in their comfort zone, have their social media or mobile or their Instagram, Facebook, and they don't want to interact with people, start talking, chatting. So thank you for that. I really like that.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it, Khaled. I really appreciate it. That was a fun interaction meeting you at that show. I know you had a good time there too, so it's good that we stayed connected.
Yeah, sure, and it's a true pleasure to be in my connections. Thank you so much, Tej. Before we finish, something come to my mind, to my mind. I'm sorry, which is Tesla. You worked for Tesla, and
I did.
people hear a lot of stuff about Tesla and how it's a very harsh environment to work in. Is this real?
To be quite honest, yes, it is a reality. I worked actually fully remotely. It was my senior year at Michigan State, so I was working actually up to 60 hours a week, sometimes even 70 hours a week,
Oh my God.
while juggling two classes. They weren't very hard classes, but I was still doing school, enjoying my senior year. Like, come on, it's senior year, right? But instead, I was attending supplier meetings with our China suppliers at midnight because I'm in EST Eastern time, and I was having to connect with our China suppliers. It was a difficult experience. Not to say anything bad about Tesla. I think a lot of people find their value add and they fit into the culture. I don't know if it was necessarily for me. I think it was a good learning experience for me to have that very startup culture experience. I think a lot of people hear that about Tesla, that it's a very startup culture. I think that's 10,000% true. 10,000% true. You are the person that has to take initiative to grow in your team, to learn the processes. No one's going to hold your hand and tell you, hey, this is how I worked under the sheet metal body stampings team, so body in white, making the actual frame of the vehicle, metal frame and the hood and the doors. I worked under that team, and I don't have any metals experience. I remember it was the first week, and we went to a supplier even before I started. My team was in Michigan, and we went to one of our potential prospective suppliers, and I didn't know what to expect. Right, I've never done this before, and it was an out of this world experience, just picking up on so much at once and kind of being part of that drive, that transition to sustainability. I think that was a really good experience for me. So it was a good but very tiring experience too, for sure, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah, and the life balance is important.
Yes,
So it's not for everyone to work in
sure.
Tesla. I don't want to work in Tesla,
Yeah,
but it's a good experience, as you mentioned. You learn because each place you will go, you will learn a lot.
certainly.
So Tej, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. It's a true pleasure that I have you in ERP Talks.
Yeah, appreciate it, Khaled. It was great being on, and appreciate your time. Thank you.